Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going on a journey through American history. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. History can sometimes feel like a long list of dates, names, and facts that are hard to remember. But history is really about people. People who dreamed big. People who made mistakes. People who took risks. And sometimes, ordinary people who unexpectedly changed the world. So today, instead of simply talking about dates and events, we're going to explore some fascinating moments that helped create the United States we know today. Imagine standing on the edge of a ship over 400 years ago. The ocean stretches in every direction. No airplanes, no GPS, no weather apps. Just water, wind, and uncertainty. Many Europeans crossed the Atlantic Ocean hoping for a better life. Some wanted wealth. Some wanted religious freedom. Others simply wanted opportunity. When they arrived in North America, they found a land already inhabited by Native American peoples. These communities had lived there for thousands of years. They had their own cultures, languages, governments, and traditions. The meeting between Native Americans and Europeans changed history forever. Sometimes there was cooperation. Sometimes there was conflict. And sometimes there was misunderstanding. The story of America begins with these encounters. Fast forward to the 1700s. Britain controlled 13 colonies along the eastern coast of North America. At first, many colonists were proud to be British. But over time, tensions grew. The British government began placing taxes on the colonies. The colonists were angry. Why? Because they had no representatives in the British Parliament. They felt they were being forced to follow rules without having a voice. One famous phrase became popular: taxation without representation. Can you imagine paying money to a government that never listens to you? Many colonists felt exactly that way. Then came one of the most famous protests in American history, the Boston Tea Party. In 1773, a group of colonists boarded ships carrying tea. They threw hundreds of boxes of tea into Boston Harbor. It wasn't really about tea. It was about power. It was about who gets to make decisions. The conflict continued to grow. Soon, arguments turned into war. In 1776, something remarkable happened. The colonies declared independence from Britain. A document called the Declaration of Independence announced this bold decision. The message was simple but powerful. People are born with rights. Governments should protect those rights. And if a government becomes unfair, people have the right to change it. These ideas inspired people around the world, but winning independence would not be easy. The colonies faced one of the strongest military powers on Earth. The war lasted for years. Soldiers suffered through cold winters. Families were divided. Some supported independence. Others remained loyal to Britain. Finally, the Americans won. The United States was born. But the new nation faced a huge challenge. How do you build a country from scratch? The founders of the United States were trying something unusual. Many countries were ruled by kings or queens. America decided to create a republic. The people would choose leaders. Power would be divided so that no single person could control everything. It was a bold experiment, and many people thought it might fail. The first president, George Washington, understood how important his actions would be. Every decision he made could become an example for future leaders. One of his most important choices was giving up power after 2 terms. Today, that may sound normal. At the time, it was extraordinary. He could have tried to remain in power. Many leaders throughout history had done exactly that. Instead, he stepped away. This helped establish a tradition of peaceful transfers of power. The decision shaped American democracy for generations. As the years passed, the United States grew. People moved westward. New states joined the country. Inventors created new technologies. Roads, canals, and railroads connected distant places. The country was changing rapidly, but there was a major problem growing beneath the surface. A problem that could no longer be ignored: slavery. Millions of African Americans lived in slavery. They were treated as property rather than people. Families were separated. Freedom was denied. Many Americans began speaking out against slavery. Others defended it. The nation became increasingly divided. The question became impossible to avoid. Could the country remain united? In 1861, the United States entered its bloodiest conflict, the Civil War. Americans fought against Americans, brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor. The war lasted 4 years. The cost was enormous. Hundreds of thousands of lives were lost. At the center of this crisis stood President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln believed the nation must remain united. He also believed slavery should end. During the war, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This changed the meaning of the conflict. The war was no longer about preserving the Union. It was also about freedom. When the war finally ended in 1865, slavery was abolished. The nation had survived, but the wounds would take generations to heal. Now, let's move into a period that feels almost unbelievable: the late 1800s and early 1900s. Imagine living during a time when technology was transforming everything. People saw electric lights replace candles. Telephones appeared. Cars arrived. Cities grew taller. Factories produced goods faster than ever before. The pace of change was astonishing. For many people, it felt like the future had suddenly arrived. Millions of immigrants came to America seeking opportunity. They brought new languages, traditions, foods, and ideas. America became increasingly diverse. The country was not only growing in size, but also in complexity. Then came one of the hardest periods in American history, the Great Depression. Beginning in 1929, the economy collapsed. Businesses closed. Banks failed. Millions lost their jobs. Imagine waking up every day unsure whether you could feed your family. That was reality for many Americans. People waited in long lines for food. Families lost their homes. Hope became difficult to find. Yet, even during these dark years, people continued helping one another. Communities shared resources. Neighbors supported neighbors. The crisis revealed both the weaknesses and strength of society. Soon, another challenge emerged: World War II. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the United States entered the war. Millions served in the military. Factories worked around the clock. Families made sacrifices. The war changed the entire world. When it finally ended in 1945, the United States emerged as a global power. But victory came with responsibility. The world was entering a new era. Even after slavery ended, equality remained out of reach for many African Americans. Laws and social practices continued to create discrimination. In the 1950s and 1960s, the civil rights movement demanded change. Ordinary citizens organized protests. Students marched. Communities stood together. One of the most influential voices was Martin Luther King Jr. His speeches inspired millions. He spoke about justice, equality, and hope. Progress was not easy. Many activists faced threats, violence, and arrest, but their determination changed the nation. Important civil rights laws were passed. The struggle for equality continued, but significant barriers began to fall. Now, let's talk about one of humanity's greatest achievements: the space race. For centuries, people looked at the moon and wondered what it would be like to stand there. In 1969, That dream became reality. Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface. His famous words became part of history. Millions watched on television. Imagine seeing that moment live, a human being standing on another world. It showed what people can achieve when imagination, science, and determination come together. When we look at American history, we see triumphs and failures, moments of courage, moments of injustice, periods of progress, periods of conflict. History is not a simple story with perfect heroes and villains. It is a story about human beings, people trying to solve problems, people making difficult choices, people learning how to build a better society. And maybe that's why history matters. It reminds us that today's world did not appear overnight. Every law, every institution, every freedom, and every challenge has a story behind it. The people of the past were not so different from us. They worried about the future. They hoped for better lives. They disagreed with one another. They dreamed. And because they dreamed, the world changed. Thank you for joining me on this journey through American history. If you enjoyed today's episode, remember that history is all around us. Every city has stories, every family has stories, and every generation adds a new chapter. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and never stop asking questions, because the next great story might be the one we're living right now. Thanks for listening. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Feel free to share this podcast with your friends, family, or anyone who loves learning about the past. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next episode.